Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Straight Jacket White Rabbit. Today we're going to be exploring a certain cryptid. I believe you all would recognize the name Mothman. For those of you who don't know who Mothman is, stay tuned, I got some details for you. Now, Mothman originated, or the stories of Mothman I should say, originated in 1966 in a town called Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Now, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the story that most people know of as the first sighting is not technically the first sighting of Mothman. So we're going to go with the first sighting in chronological order. The reason the first sighting is lesser well known than the second sighting is because the men involved in the first sighting, you guys, didn't report it due to fear of ridicule. Nobody that they had heard of had reported this creature yet, and they were kind of just scared to come forward with it. So here we go. In Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Mothman was sighted flying over workers, 5 workers to be specific, at a local cemetery. 5 local grave diggers were doing their job as a humanoid figure with giant wings flew over them. The men were reasonably terrified. I mean, I would be too if a giant human with wings flew over me, but they were so terrified they actually left the job for the rest of the evening, and they came back to finish it the next morning. Now, a lot of people give them scrutiny because of the fact that they didn't technically report it right away. The main incident that people know as the first incident, which isn't really the first incident, is involving 2 couples 5 days later. Now, it is in a similar area of West Virginia in Point Pleasant. Now, these 2 couples, Linda and Roger and Mary and Steve, you guys, were out enjoying the evening together, going on a ride with their car up into a, we'll say more secluded area up near the woodlands, near an old power plant. Now, they're all having a good time, hanging out, doing what couples do, and all of a sudden, they hear this noise, and it's almost insect, I guess we could say, in nature. And they start looking around for what made the noise, and as they do, they see this giant winged creature fly by them with giant red eyes into what appeared to be an old section of this power plant. They were terrified. They said that it looked like once it got in, it was trying to get back out through the doors, through a large set of metal doors, but it looked like it was actually having trouble getting its wings through the door or having trouble fitting through the doorway. They hopped in their car, and they start speeding off towards town. According to them, they were doing close to 90 miles an hour. This creature, Mothman, would swoop down, according to their statements, above their car, and they'd just get a quick glance of something above their car, and then it would fade back, and then it would do it again. It would fade back, and this thing chased them all the way to town. You guys, they didn't make any money off of this. This is a whole nother day back in the 60s, you guys. They were terrified when they showed up to the local police department. According to eyewitnesses, the women were in tears. The men were visibly shaken and disturbed by what they had seen. Now, Mothman has certain characteristics, guys, that are kind of universal for their sightings. They've got really large wings. Mothman supposedly has a very, very large wingspan and very large red eyes. Other facial descriptions kind of vary, to be honest. Whether it's due to fear or I mean, a lot of people don't realize when people are scared, it's really hard to remember specific details about facial structure and things sometimes. Not all people have that ability. But that could be the main reason why some of the other facial features don't always match in the story. When people are scared, they do tend to fill in some aspects of the stories themselves by what their mind tries to make sense of what they saw. Now, like I said, it's got 2 legs and it's upright, so they consider it to be humanoid looking. I'm not saying it looks like a giant person. I'm just saying it's humanoid means it's on 2 legs and standing upright. 2 arms, 2 legs. Obviously not humanoid with wings, but though that's debatable. But now this creature, you guys, it didn't gain notoriety right away, except for in the local communities in West Virginia. People were talking about it. There were actually people who were talking about putting up posted outdoor times so that they would cut off and put on a curfew at night so that you couldn't go out at certain times. That I know of, no curfew was ever actually enacted, but I do know it was proposed. Now, we go to the more famous incident of them, which was the following year. There had been a few more sightings between the first 2 and when the most famous incident, or what Mothman's more famous for, occurred. But there was, I'd say, a handful, it's probably 4 to 5 people, if I remember correctly, who also had sightings of this creature flying, whether it was just flying over town or seen at night, through the woods, its red eyes. Just small reports here and there over the next year. Now, we're going to move to December of 1967. December 1967, you guys, is when the famous Silver Bridge collapse happens. And the reason this is so entrenched in Mothman lore is because this is the start of when people said that the appearance of Mothman as a warning or a harbinger of doom, if you will. This is where it all started at Silver Bridge. There was a sighting, in a famous actual photo too of the sighting, of supposedly Mothman on the Silver Bridge. Now, amid heavy rush hour traffic, granted the bridge was overloaded. I'm not saying the Mothman caused this. Keep in mind, guys, nobody ever says he causes these incidents. He's just there when some of these things happen. But this was a very big deal in Point Pleasant and in West Virginia, honestly, in America. 46 people died with this bridge collapse, guys. 2 bodies were never even recovered. They were just lost to the river. Now, not everybody believed that he was some harbinger of doom right away. And I can understand this, just because someone is at a place when a bad thing happens, doesn't make them a harbinger of doom, even if they're scary looking. But the story gets weirder from here, guys. After the bridge disaster, the sightings pick up in frequency for, I'd say a few weeks. But then they kind of die off, and I don't mean completely die off. There are random spottings of Mothman here and there, mostly near heavily wooded areas or on countryside, more lonesome stretches of highway. But for the most part, you don't really see or hear from him for a little bit. And people kind of forgot what was going on. And honestly, a lot of America kind of forgot about Mothman. And a lot of these other stories involving Mothman that I'm about to tell you about aren't covered, or weren't covered as far as I'm concerned, as much as they should have been. Because the bridge collapse is not the only major disaster that Mothman has been sighted at on or before the day of a disaster. We're going to fast forward just a little bit of time to Chernobyl in the 80s, guys. There were Russian workers who spotted what they claimed was a flying, headless or smushed head creature that was humanoid with giant red eyes. A lot of people believe that this was a sighting of Mothman that happened within a week of Chernobyl going nuclear. We're talking about a place on this earth that is not going to be inhabitable for like thousands more years because of this disaster. Now, when I first heard about the Chernobyl link, I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting. Okay, maybe it really is a harbinger of doom. So I started doing research into other disasters. Here's the interesting thing. I can't find any reports of Mothman at the disaster zones before the bridge collapse in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Then you have it, Chernobyl, the sightings at Chernobyl. But then it just keeps going, you guys. This creature was also sighted at a... oh my goodness. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. This creature was also sighted at the Fukushima, I think it was called. The Japanese nuclear power plant that had the accident and during the earthquakes out there and the tsunamis and everything. The day of and the day prior, and I believe the day before that, there were 3 days total. There were sightings in Japan of a large, red-eyed, flying, humanoid, but not quite human looking creature. So it's unclear exactly why this creature is showing up at these events or how it knows these events are going to happen. I personally do not believe it is triggering these events. I don't believe it's triggering earthquakes. I don't believe it's triggering bridge collapses or anything like that. But that brings up the question of how does it know that these disasters are going to happen? These are very far away places for this creature to be in different areas of the world at different times. So it seems odd that it would be near all these disasters. And there are others, you guys. Now, some of the reports are sketchy. Some of the ones I couldn't confirm were 9/11, for instance. There were a few people who, through online threads, claimed to have seen Mothman the week of 9/11. Now, that being said, I have no clue if they actually saw Mothman or not. There was no verifiable photos or anything else. And it didn't come out until after the 9/11 happened, the 9/11 incident happened, that they reported their sighting. So you can take it with a grain of salt or you can add it to the stockpile of the legend. Now, there are other instances, you guys, biochemical weapons spills, all this other stuff that it has been seen around the world at these tragic places on or before the accidents happen. One of the weirdest ones I just came across literally within the last week was there were reports in China near the Wuhan virology lab. Virology, is that the right way I'm saying this? I am sure I'm butchering that word. But where COVID supposedly came from. Like literally within a few miles of it. There were apparently sightings of a large flying creature. Now, the reports didn't happen to mention red eyes, but it was a large flying creature, 2 arms, 2 legs, didn't look human, is all the reports that I got. Whether or not those are Mothman, we don't know. Usually, Mothman is pretty specifically pointed out by its giant red eyes. That's usually the first thing witnesses see, that or the giant wingspan. Now, if this creature really is some kind of harbinger of doom, or, Darkbringer, or, some kind of an omen, I can't say that for sure. There are other explanations, you guys. There's weirder things that could be out there. First of all, we don't know what Mothman is, okay? As far as we know, Mothman could be extraterrestrial. We do not know. This thing could have psychic abilities. We all know here in the U.S., people mock psychics all the time, but our own government has held studies and programs and invited psychics on missions that are specifically looking for downed aircraft or missing people. So psychics do exist. Is this some kind of a psychic creature? A psychic alien? If it's not alien, is it just a psychic creature that happens to exist on our planet? Is it interdimensional? We're not entirely sure, you guys. But it doesn't appear that there's more than one. It's never seen in the same place, even close to each other, close to different time frames and faraway locations. It's always a good amount of time if it's a faraway location before there are other sightings. So the best that I can tell is that we're talking about a singular creature here, you guys. That being said, people are like, well, then it should be gone relatively soon because, lifespans being what it is. But here's the thing, you guys, you can't put a human lifespan on something that's not a human. For all you know, this thing has a lifespan of 500 years, 1,000 years. We don't know. So my question is this: what exactly do you think Mothman is? Me personally, I think there's a few other ways you can go with the Mothman story. I heard a really interesting theory that actually ties Mothman to the legend of the New Jersey Devil, the Pine Barrens plague. Those of you who don't know anything about the Jersey Devil, similar creature, covered in some kind of a fur on its face. People said it has either a goat face or a horse face. The facial features, like I said with the Mothman, have been distorted and said it looks like different things throughout time. But key notes: Jersey Devil, large creature, huge wingspan, supposedly has horns of some kind, and giant red eyes. Mothman, humanoid creature. Details on the face are a little fuzzy, but they do say that the face looks like it has something covering it, like fuzz or something. Instead of horns, they say antennas, but still, two objects sticking up out of the head, both have giant red eyes, very little facial description, everything else seems to match. Could these be the same creature? If so, this means that the Jersey Devil, which dates back way before Mothman does, could be the culprit. Could they be the same creature, one and the same? And at first when I first heard this claim and I read about it, and I was like, completely different creatures. But you look at what the points that this person made in their article, and they were talking about the differences of each person's story when it came to certain facial features. The facial features themselves did change from person to person, with the exception of the eyes and antennas or horns. If in case horns when I'm referring to the Jersey Devil. But could this just be the same creature? Let's be honest. Huge antennas that stick up this big, creature flying around at night or even in the daytime, someone could mistake that for horns, you guys. They both tend to be not more nocturnal, but they do have daytime sightings. Pine Barrens are 500, I think it's 520 miles, 530 miles, something like that, from Point Pleasant, West Virginia. For a creature that can fly, 500 miles isn't that far, you guys, so it's well within its traveling range. But This is just one of many theories I've read about what this creature is or where this creature comes from. But I did find it really interesting that a lot of the stories have the exact same behavior. The couple that got chased back to town in their car. Here's something that also the Jersey Devil has been known to do. But here's the weird part. In their story, there's an exact duplicate of a particular instance of what this creature is doing. It doesn't just chase them into town. It's like it's going up and then dive bombing to get speed up to catch up to the cars these people are in, and then swooping back up and then diving back down to get the speed to catch up to the car again. It's that break. Oh my God, it's above us. No, wait, it's back there. Okay, we lost it. Oh my God, it's above us again. Both creatures were described during the vehicle chase in the exact same way. So it put this into my mind of this could be a very viable theory, you guys, which would make the Mothman 100-something, I think, years older than what we believe it to be, if it really is the same creature as the Jersey Devil. Or, like I said, there are many other theories, you guys. I've even heard things that it's an escaped lab creation, that we made it in a lab here in the United States. And let's be honest, you guys, we've been doing testing on genetic mutations and experimentations on different strands of DNA and cross-combining DNA for as long as we could, as long as we've known about DNA, we've been messing with it. So who's to say we didn't come up with something terrible in a lab back then? And I know people are like, well, we're just now getting CRISPR technology. That's what we're getting now, you guys. The government does not release tech that it has, especially not ones that give someone else an advantage over us. They don't get rid of that until they're already at the next generation of technology, guys. I guarantee you, now that we have CRISPR, they have way more sophisticated gene editing stuff than we are going to be able to be shown as the public. So was this creature made in a lab? Was it some kind of genetic experiment gone wrong? Like I said, we know that our government was experimenting with psychics. Were they trying to give this creature they made a special psychic ability? Was that an intended side effect of this creature they made? Did they make it at all? Is this a creature, like I said, is it an alien species? There's a ton of answers, and there's not a lot of evidence, you guys, besides fuzzy photos, personal accounts, and eyewitness statements. Here's one of my thoughts on this, though. If this thing is an alien, it may not be here forecasting events. Maybe it's here to watch these disasters that it knows are going to happen in our world. It knows these things are going to happen, and so it intuitively goes to check them out. Like I said, I'm going to be digging a little bit more into the Mothman Jersey Devil connection, because I just got into this myself. I think it's a very interesting rabbit hole to go down. But for now, that's going to be my video on the Mothman, you guys. Let me know what you think. If you've heard of Mothman at any other disasters, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to look into those as well, because I am going to be doing some more research on this, so hopefully I can bring you another video on it. But this has been Straight Jacket White Rabbit, Adam, talking to you about Mothman, signing off, wishing you guys peace and love. Till next time, enjoy your night.